A quiet October afternoon in the small city of Blackfoot, Idaho, turned into a tragedy that would shock the community and leave lingering questions about youth guns and the dark consequences of a moment's decision. On the surface, it seemed like any other day, but behind closed doors and along ordinary streets, a devastating crime was unfolding, one that would soon dominate local headlines and capture the attention of true crime audiences nationwide. The perpetrator was a 16-year-old boy, later identified as Bobby Grant Jackson, Jr., who lived under the watch of probation authorities and stayed in a halfway house after a prior incident involving a robbery. He had a history that suggested risk. Yet even those familiar with his record were unprepared for what would come next. According to investigators, a 9mm handgun had been left unattended in a lunchbox inside a work truck at a state facility. Bobby, employed by a subcontractor performing remodeling work at the site, had access to this weapon. In the hours leading up to the crime, security cameras captured him entering the truck, retrieving an object, and leaving, behavior that would later prove pivotal in piecing together the events that led to murder. By early afternoon, Bobby was seen near a gas station close to a trailer park. It was there that he approached Rebecca Rivera, a 30-year-old woman who lived in a nearby mobile home, asking her for a ride. She refused. To an outsider, this might have seemed a minor, everyday interaction. But in Bobby's mind, the refusal became the spark for a deadly act of revenge. Investigators later reported that he believed Rebecca's brothers had been involved in harming one of his friends, a grievance he carried into that moment. Minutes later, the horror unfolded. Inside her trailer home, Rebecca was found lying in the back room with a single gunshot wound to the head. A spent shell casing lay on the bed. No weapon was recovered at the scene. Her daughter, concerned that her mother had failed to pick her up from school, alerted other family members, who discovered her lifeless body. The sheer randomness of the victim, the idea that a stranger could commit such violence, shocked residents of Blackfoot and left the community questioning how such a young person could make such an irreversible choice. Authorities quickly traced the murder weapon to the gun reportedly stolen from a work site. Surveillance footage, eyewitness statements, and forensic evidence all placed Bobby at the scene of the crime. By the time law enforcement arrived, a chilling narrative emerged. A teenager on probation, armed with a stolen gun, had approached a woman for a ride and, when denied, had killed her. When apprehended in a nearby home in Pocatello, Bobby allegedly confessed, reportedly stating, "I put a bullet in her brain." The words, cold and matter-of-fact, shocked even seasoned detectives. The teen's history of violent behavior, the accessibility of the firearm, and the seemingly trivial motive combined into a narrative that fascinated and horrified people across Idaho and beyond. The community grappled with the implications. How could a teenager with supervision and prior interventions be in a position to commit murder? How did a weapon, left unattended in a workplace truck, become a tool of such violence? These questions resonated not just locally, but nationally, highlighting a persistent concern in American society: the intersection of youth, guns, and sudden, lethal violence. From a legal perspective, Bobby was charged as an adult with first-degree murder. In Idaho, anyone 14 or older facing a serious felony can be tried as an adult. He faced a bond of $1 million and the possibility of life in prison if convicted. The case sparked debate over juvenile justice, probation oversight, and gun safety, particularly the dangers of leaving firearms accessible in workplaces or homes. The story also underscores broader societal issues. It reveals the unpredictable nature of youth behavior when armed with weapons and fueled by perceived grievances. It illustrates how fleeting interactions, a simple refusal, can trigger catastrophic outcomes when other risk factors converge. Furthermore, it raises concerns about the environments in which teens reside. Halfway houses, probation supervision, and access to weapons all contributed to conditions that made this crime possible. For viewers, this case resonates on multiple levels. The shocking motive, being denied a ride, combined with the method of execution, a stolen gun hidden in a lunchbox, captures attention and elicits both fear and curiosity. The narrative is tragic yet compelling, offering insight into human behavior, the consequences of inaction, and the potential dangers posed by unmonitored youth in communities where access to firearms is relatively easy. The aftermath of the crime left the family, neighbors, and authorities struggling to make sense of the loss. Police departments urged vigilance and community cooperation, noting that the quick apprehension of the teen was possible due to surveillance footage, witness reports, and a coordinated investigative response. Yet, despite the arrest, the trauma of the act lingered, reminding all involved that the ripple effects of violence extend far beyond the immediate victim and perpetrator. For creators of true crime content, this story offers a wealth of angles. It allows exploration of youth violence, probation and juvenile justice, workplace safety, gun access, and human psychology under stress. Presenting the events chronologically, from the lunchbox theft of the fateful request for a ride, the refusal, the shooting, and the subsequent capture, can create a suspenseful and emotionally engaging narrative for viewers. Incorporating elements such as the victim's daily life, her family's reaction, and community response adds depth and empathy, ensuring the story resonates beyond mere sensationalism. As the trial proceeds, questions remain. Could the murder have been prevented if the firearm had been secured? Could probation systems have intervened sooner? How do we balance accountability with understanding the social and environmental factors contributing to teen violence? Each question challenges viewers to consider the broader societal issues intertwined with this singular act of brutality. Ultimately, the Blackfoot lunchbox murder stands as a stark example of how quickly ordinary moments can spiral into tragedy. It is a story of youth revenge and the deadly potential of access to firearms. For audiences of true crime, it offers a narrative rich in tension, emotion, and cautionary lessons. The case continues to unfold, with court proceedings and community discussions promising to shed more light on the motives, methods, and consequences of a life tragically cut short.